Hello, welcome to Inside Music Curation. We're the team at Feed Media Group. We're here every month talking about all things music curation. And today we are talking about UK rap and Central Cee specifically. So joined again by the Feed Media Group curation team. You know, the UK rap scene is gaining even more worldwide recognition thanks to some new artists like Central Cee and Stormzy. The genre has a wide range of influences coming from all over the world, which is a good reason why it also resonates globally. So let's dive in and talk a little bit about, what is the UK rap scene looking like today? Who wants to jump off on that one?
I just wanted to start by saying too that that we are Americans. And so our viewpoints are going to come from, that background of a view of hip hop. So we also, mean no offense should we not understand something culturally.
Yeah, from across the pond, what we're seeing over here. Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Claire.
But I know Juan's got a really good breakdown on, sonically what sort of the tenets of UK rap are.
Yeah, it is a sonic stew. And I think that when talking about UK rap and essentially what we're going to be talking about today, which is more a UK drill, there are so many different styles that kind of infuse together to create all of these like pretty stylistically different sounding things. So if we were to start with like UK drill, it's like just basically a spin-off of like Chicago drill, but the differences, which lend itself to like what UK rap is they use a lot of punchlines, as well as they use a lot of double entendres, which is also very much an American thing, but in the way that they utilize it, especially Central Cee and other like Lil Sims, there's a cheekiness to it, which in American culture it's not much. It's a little less. It's more gritty and less cheeky, and hopefully that translates, right? But that being said, one of the main things that really kind of like makes UK hip hop or rap and drill different is the speed of their delivery. Their speed is it's very, very high tempoed. And in general, when you look at UK hip hop, they normally will fall under a spectrum of over 125 BPM, because the other interesting aspect of UK hip hop, rap, drill is that there's an element of electronic music that is just integral. And this also, again, goes back to the development of what UK hip hop and rap is, which it is the amalgamation of a lot of Caribbean, African immigrants that essentially moved to the UK, and with some sonic references of what we were doing out here on the in the US, they made their own style, and very much kind of like how reggaeton is, right? Or Spanish trap, or even French rap, right? They're all going to be taking elements of their own culture and kind of like making it their own thing, which I mean, for what we're talking about today, what makes Central Cee in this UK rap or hip hop so relevant is the fact that you're starting to not only see it come into form as far as a trend, but you're starting to see American artists like basically taking that in and finding their success. The interesting thing is we have something here now in the United States that's called Brooklyn drill. Brooklyn drill is what kind of like Ice Spice does, Pop Smoke, things of that nature. And these are all artists that are American artists. Now, the interesting about this is it's second. It's you could say it's either third or second generation, right? Depending on if you feel that Chicago and New York drill happened at the same time or happened exclusively separately. But the thing is that before you were able to get Brooklyn drill, you had to go and get that UK drill. You had to go and listen to that road rap in order to get to that point. Which I think is like, that's like the thing that us as curators, like having that knowledge, and not only that, but like seeing how those trends emerge is super valuable, and like honestly just one of the fun things about this job. I hope that, because we can get really into it. I'm trying to do like a little Disneyland type thing over here, you know, come from LA. But no, UK hip hop is honestly a big piece of the fundamental sounds of even what we look at today as far as American hip hop. And I know just before this, we were talking about MIA. MIA is such an important figurehead in hip hop, and obviously because of her political ties, the fact that she's a woman, the fact that she's an immigrant woman, there's not as much shine on her. But the fact of the matter is, those first two records, there wasn't a hip hop record that you heard that brought world music into the focus as MIA. And that became influential throughout all of hip hop with Jay-Z, Kanye, Pharrell. Like, once you hear her first album, and then the song Paper Planes, and then everything, Girls, Bad Girls, like, you listen to that record and you listen to hip hop after that, it's forever changed. So yeah, that was my shout out to MIA.
Well, you brought, I mean, Juan, I'm so glad, dropping knowledge. I mean, I'm learning live time from one of my co-curators here. Like, music is so vast and there's so much to learn. So thank you for blessing us with your knowledge on that, because I literally learned live time right now some of the roots of UK rap. And it is really such an interesting, distant kindred spirit to US rap, because I'm a huge US rap fan and I enjoy UK rap, but it is really a different beast. And I think in addition to what you said, another point I would say, just to kind of quickly take us from, like, I mean, the vastness, this UK rap to Central Cee, is that I feel like kind of the point when things started popping off on UK rap that we could see stateside was the early 2000s. And in addition to everything you said, that foundation of electronic or dance music, I think, is fundamental of the fact that electronic music in general was much bigger in Europe. So in the 90s, all of the like vast proliferation of electronic styles, many of the points of origination came from the UK, and they also were much bigger deal over there than they ever were stateside. And so I think that was part of the stew that really fostered the MIAs and also the Dizzy Rascals and the Streets. Some of those early amazing UK grime artists was like planted deep into an electronic soil, so that that point of origination is so different. And so then you kind of, I'll hand it off to Mike now, because he's got thoughts as usual, and I'm going to do it whether you want it or not, dude. He did curation for a while in the early 2000s, specifically oriented on UK music. So he really could see that in action with like kind of early, I know there was UK rap before the 21st century, so forgive me, but like early UK rap, kind of how it went from grime and then into drill, into trap. Can you kind of bring us present tense a little bit, Mike? Feel free to disagree with anything I said here too.
I don't know what else to say except just agree with everything you just said. But,
are there any other kind of like marquee musicians that Central Cee is standing on their shoulders that people should be aware of, or is it more of like he is a fresh new deal? You know, what's your kind of POV on him and current UK rap?
Well, I mean, I think you know what separates Central Cee from a lot of the other current UK hip hop artists that are coming up is that he's got global aspirations, right? So yeah, he wants to break in the US and elsewhere, you know, so he does take from the Chief Keef of the Chicago drill scene. He does take from you know, he is sampling US artists in songs in his album, even in that track Doja that came out a couple of years ago. He samples that Eve Gwen Stefani song, and on his new album he samples the Wu-Tang Clan, he samples Neo. So he recognizes that, hey, I need to, as an introduction of myself to other markets outside of the UK, I need to bring some familiarity in. So I think that the samples help, the collaborations, the cosigns certainly help. I think I strayed from the original question here, but yeah.
No, it's a big topic we're trying to talk about. We're trying to talk about UK rap and Central Cee in 20 minutes. So yeah, it's gonna kind of wide range. And Claire, as the person who brought us all together and said, hey, this deserves to be talked about collectively, and to the companies that we serve, what are your thoughts on Central Cee, and drop some knowledge for us on that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm not as self-proclaimed a hip hop head as some of y'all, but am a fan more generally. I will say, like, my sort of introduction to UK rap came from Ed Sheeran sort of talking about Stormzy. And that was sort of my intro into, like, okay, like, here's the scene, here are the elements of grime, all sort of like words we had heard as far as like ways to describe music in other areas. I think, yeah, hearing Doja for the first time, like, that style really stuck out to me. I think for sure, as curators for a lot of fitness companies, the intensity and speed of the beat fit really well. I think there's some interesting elements of like conscious rap, in addition to the sort of like very clear and delivered with a lot of diction style of speaking that comes with it, that I think it was especially obvious to me upon like a listen through the whole album, band for band, as the leadoff single, the difference between Lil Baby's verses and his verses in just the like sonic and like lyrical quality. Yeah, they're opposite ends of the spectrum in how that gets delivered, and like the use of auto-tune and all that sort of stuff. So I thought that was really interesting. I think there are, yeah, like the album itself, has your sort of expected braggadocio of any sort of hip hop record. And then there are some real elements of introspection and his sort of positioning and self-reflection. And I think maybe an element that gets glossed over in a lot of hip hop records, which is like, they have, come from the streets, as it were. And like, those are their stories and that's their origin. And very quickly, their life no longer looks like that. And sort of like the music industry's role in that. And so I think he can talk about some of those things fairly eloquently, whether or not that sort of removes a level of authenticity to some of it, or if he's losing some of his local roots in terms of trying to appeal to a wider and therefore like more American audience. I did find, like, because the accent is so strong, sometimes the sort of like name drops of like very American things I found to be interesting, of like name checks the Golden State Warriors, like name checks like Harlem and Oakland and restaurants in Hollywood, and like all of these things that are like not relatable to a UK audience in that way. So I sort of detected this like balancing act between all those elements. And I'll just say sort of one thing as I wrap up, the like, again, is not like, as a fan of hip hop, but not like in the scene in that way, I don't often listen to a hip hop album start to finish. I'm not like putting on a Gunna album from beginning to end. Like, I'll hear some singles, I'll do whatever. But I can do that with a Central Cee. That wasn't like difficult, as it were, for me sonically. I think, yeah, the collaborations help break up a sort of like very singular style. But at the same time, yeah, there's a little variety, but not a ton. Oh, Melissa, you're on mute.
So Central Cee just released this new album. It's called Can't Rush Greatness. And Claire, you spoke to some of the collabs on there, the, kind of consistent flow. What else did you guys think about the new album?
I mean,
I agree with what Claire said in that I think some of the tracks with features break it up. For me personally, I think that I like them, but I think the cadence in all the songs is a little too similar for me, and it gets kind of tiring to listen to. But the tracks with the featured vocals, I think, breaks it up nicely. So the sequence was made it more palatable for me.
Well, and we talk about, functional music here at Feed Media Group also, and like, is this maybe a decent focus album for, hip hop fans to like keep that same flow as you're working? Throwing that out there as a random idea.
The first half of the album, for sure. I think there's a few more sort of like slower and even like melodic with sung verses tracks on the second half, which weirdly were not attributed to who is like singing versus some of the like rapped verse ones that have them in the title. Anyways, but yeah, the first half for sure. Like if you wanted a hip hop workout, like those would all fit that bill pretty easily.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I mean, I think the features break it up. That's not uncommon on hip hop albums these days. That's really like some special sprinkling of goods. Like we've come a long way since the like Illmatics of the day, where it's like an artist, front to end. But I do think the cadence call out from Mike is interesting, because whether Central Cee continues to really, that's the flow, and he basically uses that flow all the time, like a Nas or like a Tupac, where they have like a really predictable flow that they use all the time, or whether he starts to adapt his flow more like a Jay-Z or a Kendrick Lamar, where like it's a hard thing to do, where you're such a great lyricist and your flow is so killer that you can pull a Nas or a Tupac, right? You know what I mean? Like where you have, well, although Lil Baby has a similar flow, I think it's an interesting thing where, and we also talked about this, as American listeners, does the same flow listened to for a sustained period get, I wouldn't say tiring, but kind of, we want more variety because of the fact of the accent and or the understanding of it. So it's like, it's hard for us really to, I'd say, to parse that. Because like when I could listen to Tupac all day and he uses the same flow, but I'm getting everything he's saying, I'm getting, whereas with Central Cee, I'm listening to it through a foreign filter, even though it's ostensibly the same language.
You know what? I'm going to say it. I'm not a big fan, but that's not saying that like it's that I don't believe that Central Cee can't get better. And also that's like a personal thing, right? But the real thing is this. Central Cee right now has a great position. He has an excellent team working behind him. On top of that, he has gained a little bit of celebrity notoriety. Now, that helps with pop music. And that's why I love this whole thing with Drake, that Drake is now just pop music, baby. Let's keep it there. You know what I mean? Because in the end of the day, what Central Cee is trying to do is trying to take the element of that UK hip hop rap, road rap, and expose it to the world. But the only way to do that is by finding other ways in the world to interact with it. So when he's dropping names in LA, when he's collaborating with American artists, like he's literally trying to utilize the traction that he has right now to be bigger. And I mean, like, dude, he's linked up with Ice Spice, and I mean, for whatever anyone could say about Ice Spice, because recently she just had kind of a lull in her career, in a very short career. But with Central Cee, like he is, there's traction. So therefore, even though I am not particularly a fan, I can identify the fact that this person does have traction. And here's the thing. A lot of people said the same thing they're saying about Central Cee and UK rap about reggaeton like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about it is I consider myself less of a head of any style and ahead of the music, right? Whatever it flies or flows. But with reggaeton, I am a fanatic about it. But if you were to ask me, like, hey, like, what record would be the record that you suggest for an American art, like an American to listen to understand not only like reggaeton, but the maturity of like, you know, Latin music. And like, man, that new Bad Bunny record is slapping, right? So when I hear like things like Road to Greatness, I think that Central Cee is still in the lab, right? There's going to be something, and that's my hope, is that he does something that really pushes that boundary. As of right now, it's not really, you know, because, and also like I've been indoctrinated with the Skins, the show. If anybody's familiar with Skins, great show. And you know, but again, Central Cee's is only going to be as important as much as he leans into his American market.
Yeah, it's kind of plugged into the machine. What other UK, you know, for someone who does want to dive into the UK rap and hip hop scene, what are some other artists, albums?
It's gotta be, I won't be shy here, gotta be Little Sims.
Yeah.
She is so exceptional, and I don't know that we've mentioned her yet. She's another recent or a current rapper that I think is just, she's not working really in a drill style necessarily that I can detect or can verify, but it's really, it's pretty exceptional.
As far as other names that haven't come up yet, Dave also has a collab track with Central Cee on this album and has been on a lot of other ones. And Skepta and KSI, who was, I guess, recently outed as being from the UK. I feel like his style is not, like accented in such a way. So I think a lot of people maybe didn't know, but yeah, there's a handful of some other artists.
There's a producer by the name of 808 Mello, and 808 Mello he's a British producer, but he's also worked with Pop Smoke. He's worked with a various amount of American artists, and honestly, one of the ties between the UK drill scene and the Brooklyn drill scene. Fantastic writer.
You can go back to like the sort of early UK drill artists like Digga D. That's one to kind of dig deep into. Digga D. And then there was a guy who we were talking about this earlier or the other day. I was recommended this artist, UK rapper, and I thought that my friend was pulling a prank on me because he was like, "Yo, look up Quang Face." I'm like, that's a joke name, right? But no, it's real, Quang Face, and he's great. There's another guy named Cairo Keys, worth looking. If you like Central Cee, look into Cairo Keys. A lot of people in the blogosphere on TikTok are saying that maybe Central Cee maybe copying his style a little bit. I don't know. You know, you could be the judge. Check him out. But yeah, Dave and Stormzy as well, for sure.
Oh, and there was a stupendous, I already used that word, but there's a really great album that flew under the radar, I think, for US listeners during the pandemic by an artist named Getz, Ghetts, that is well worth checking out. Getz. Very, very good.
We just got a great summary of, you know, UK rap artists, hip hop albums, things to check out. We got a history from Juan on drill and the origins. You know, let's wrap up with, again, kind of going back to this Central Cee album. You guys have the new one that just came out. Do you guys have a new standout song? Anything that you'd like to recall from that before we close out the day?
I won't be shy. I mean, I'm going to definitely use him in Curation. Juan spoke to it, but I think the more and more that different world musics and styles can crack the US charts in the top 40, I'm all for it. I think it's so great. The diversity, whether it's from reggaeton to Afro beats to now UK rap. Is Central Cee maybe the most exceptional banner waver for UK rap? That's an open question, but I want more of that. So yeah, Band for Band, which came out before the album, it's just a banger. I mean, I to Claire's point, just the contrast vocally between Central Cee and Lil Baby is so obvious. It kind of hits you over the head, and it's really enjoyable to hear that contrast. I will call it I'm Cheating. The third track on the album is called Gotta. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And it has Young Miko. And she's singing. I looked this up. She's singing and rapping. And I've been reading about Young Miko. She's a Puerto Rican artist. I suspect Juan probably knows a lot more about her than I do. But that's an impressive track. Gotta. I like that song a lot.
That was going to be one of mine too, of just, yeah, like really standing out as different. Obviously, yeah, she's singing in Spanish, so that really helps break things up. I actually think it would have been better deeper into the album versus a track 3, as far as like really like showing like, okay, like there's it's more than a one trick pony kind of a thing. The opening track though, No Introduction, I also liked. And yeah, like in listening through, I was trying to think of or listen for what I felt stood out about Band for Band. And if it was just, yeah, the differentiating in the vocals, I think a good chunk of it too was like in that beat, if it's trying to be like, you know, this is UK drill style rap, it leaves a lot of space. There's a lot of like empty, either like some like quick silent parts and some quick like rapping without beat under it. That I think you don't really hear in the US. And I think that's part of what really makes it stand out, in addition, yeah, to just being a banger. So
Mike, Juan, did these guys cover all the good track?
Juan's like none of them.
No.
I'm just kidding, man.
I'm a fan of. I've been a fan of Skepta for a while, so I like that he is featured on one of the tracks called 10. I think that would be my favorite of the whole album.
Yeah, and it's not that I'm not a fan, or no, actually, no, I'm not a fan. That's 100% true. But yo, we're all curators. We're all listening to a lot of music. Right now, it's the beginning of the year. There are a lot of really bullish artists that are coming through with amazing work. And if you were just to ask me, like, you know, is Central Cee's falling in that stuff that you're kind of like, oh, okay, like, you know, am I using it for curation? Well, what I would have to tell you is, yeah, but I've been using it for curation, right? He's dropped Band for Band for a while ago, Doja as well a while ago. I do agree with Claire that Introduction is actually it has a little bit of movement, which I enjoy, but also it lends well to curating and fitness.
That song has an Ice Spice sample in it as well.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like, I want to see more, right? Because it's just like, here we go. We're talking about Central Cee's Prove Me Wrong. And it's not even really proving me wrong, because I have nothing but just the want for him to succeed. Because, you know, music is beautiful. And being able to spread it, exactly, like Voltron. That's what you want to have happen.
Well, you know, that again, the name of Central Cee's new album is Can't Rush Greatness. So we'll take your word for it, Central Cee. We know you've got great stuff coming down the road also. So the beginning of something more. Awesome. Thank you guys so much, as always, for sharing your wisdom, your ideas, and it's always fun to dig into new topics. I certainly learned a lot today. So thanks everyone for tuning in. This is Inside Music Curation. We're here you know, once a month to chat about all things music curation. Sometimes it's artists, sometimes it's genres, sometimes it's curating for businesses, which was what these guys do day in and day out. So if you want to learn more, check us out, feedmediagroup.com or feed.fm, and subscribe, come back, and check the next episode. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.